Thank you, Anita.
Pleasure, Akila, always.
What a time it is to be an artist, really, where a single reel can reach more people than a live show, where a swipe, a like, a comment can either make or break an artist's life. For you, as an artist, the digital world has become the new stage, archive, and the marketplace, in a sense, all at once. But really, I've been thinking about who owns what an artist creates. How do we really draw the line between what is authentic content and how we make it accessible? And what really does arts management, that we're all in some sense negotiating in the business of, even mean in a world that is ruled by algorithms? So I just thought we'd sort of chat freely about this idea of content, conscience, and creativity. Okay? So Anita, firstly, I mean, recently I had the privilege of speaking with you about 33 years of Nartaki.
Yes.
And, you told me about how it was born as a phone book.
With a single phone call.
Single phone call,
yes.
Exactly, yeah. So in a certain way, Anita, you've also been an early adopter of digital platforms with Nartaki. So in some sense, you are, for the arts world, a culture mentor of sorts. So I'm curious to ask you, how has your journey from stage to screen really changed your understanding of these new age jargons, which is liveness, the Insta liveness, the social media presence, and what does it really mean in the world of the arts today?
So many loaded questions, so much to navigate. First of all, I have to say that I belong to the generation of the 1950s, which means I really was born within 10 years of India's independence. And the idea was, and so it was definitely an analog world, a world in which we wrote letters. There were no fax machines at that time even to communicate, and we had rotary dials and then the push button dials. And life, we can look back with nostalgia and say it was simpler. Of course, we did not have social media. And I remember in 1982, when we got the color television with the Asian Games. So in many ways, I've lived through many of those experiences at a time when we traveled with suitcases without wheels. So, but I've always been very excited about the fact that however hard you work and however good an artist you are as a dancer, if you fill a hall, maybe 500 people, maybe 1,000, but something on television could reach so many more people.
Right.
So I wanted to study television in the late 1970s and 80s in America. And I was the first ever Indian student to get Reserve Bank funds to study media, because the Reserve Bank was saying, why do we waste money on something like this? We're sending people to study what we call more important professions. But anyway, what I learned there, of course, in television and film, was that frame, actually the artist or the subject becomes only a subject. You don't have control in this other medium about how you're framed, how you're shot, how you are lit, and how you are edited.
Right.
You may be given something to do, but everybody else is the puppeteer controlling you, which is very different from the time when you're the dancer on stage, where you would have learned, but once you're on stage, the spotlight is on you. And in a sense, the orchestra is following you. So it felt very different to sort of abdicate a certain kind of responsibility, but very exciting because I was learning how to direct and how to produce.
Right.
So it was a new kind of power structure. But of course, from then, I have to say that I don't know how many of you remember MTV came along, because we were taught a certain kind of editing. Right. MTV came and just upended the game. Suddenly it was like, this is not what we were taught, but this is what MTV and music videos did. So let's fast forward and let's come to media, because it's an ABP forum.
Absolutely.
And I have to acknowledge now that ABP, Anand Bazar Patrika, and the Telegraph was only one of the 2 newspaper publications, legacy media, that really gave a lot of space for the arts. And the second being the Hindu.
Yeah.
I'm sad to see a lot of that space shrinking. But I have to commend that during the pandemic, the Hindu did not give up its Friday review of the arts. So I also remember, and I was part of the protest, in the late 90s, media was shifting. And it was led by one media house in Western India that started putting toothpaste and square ads of toothpaste or whatever it was in the middle of editorial articles. So it was like, let's put something that can sell, and the arts were beginning to suffer. Arts and entertainment were clubbed together. It became arts and entertainment. So I remember a lot of very prominent artists, musicians and dancers in Delhi, late 1990s. We all dressed in black. It was one ceremonial event at the India Habitat Center, holding a white flower. And we went in silence and sort of placed it in the center. I was asked to be there. I happened to be in Delhi. And this was a protest for the way media was beginning to make arts into entertainment.
Right.
Let's fast forward to the pandemic. Now I have a dance career. I have old-fashioned VHS tapes and those kinds of newspaper cuttings that I'm, very diligently cutting and hoping they don't crumble.
Yeah.
And 2004 Facebook, 2008 Instagram, and I got onto the platforms just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
I did not know about algorithms and how to navigate them, and in that sense, I'm really old world. And as social media is flipping the script and sort of flipping the way it looks and changing the way our pages are looking. I have to tell you, before the pandemic, I don't know how many of you just knew automatically how to work Insta Live. I didn't, So the learning has mandated to be very fast. Now, to come to your question about the speed and attention span and the deficit, we now know that social media anxiety has generated huge mental health issues.
Right.
And the time when I would dance 2 hours or 2.5 hours has shrunk even by presenters to be 40 minutes and 50 minutes.
Absolutely.
Because short form videos of not more than 2 minutes with attention span of saying clocked not more than 3 seconds is now almost the nature of the game. I call it doom scrolling because there's a generation that sleeps with their device and wakes up, and the first thing in the morning, even before they brush their teeth, they're scrolling or swiping. And I realize the anxiety that this has. When you talk about smartly made reels, beautifully ChatGPT aided text, that now even journalists are resorting to. My question is, the human body when it studies music and when it studies dance, there is a certain length of time that the body has to absorb, the muscles have to absorb that memory of the movement or the teaching, and the voice has to absorb a certain level of range and register.
Right.
You can't compress that into a 30-second reel. So there is a certain level of time that you have to spend, abhyasa, riyaz, whatever you call it. But finally, you have to decide if you want the hybridity of being a real dancer and a real dancer. Will a lovely social media presence, it'll pique people's interest.
Yeah.
This girl has a lovely presence. Let me go and watch her dance or his dance or watch him or her in music. If that live performance does not deliver what the real promises, then it is not a win-win for the artist. It really isn't. But today, on social media, we have a lot of young artists who are making very good money. There is a monetization possibility, and there are people earning very good money by just posting interesting content.
Right.
So they have become far more present on social media than offline.
Right.
So maybe we are looking at a parallel set of artists now.
Right.
And maybe I should not be on the high horse and say, well, that's not real, this is real. Maybe there are two parallel streams of reality.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But when the organizer was talking about ethics, and that's a huge issue that I would like to focus on, if you think I've sort of answered a little bit of your opening
in fact, my next question
questions.
really was that, Anita, really about, today dance videos are, like you said, clipped, forwarded, without credit, most often. How do you think about consent and moral rights, really, for performing artists?
Well, I think the only society that when we sit in a dance or music performance, even after having announced that please don't videotape, please don't photograph, please don't do flash photography, everybody is watching it through their phones. And I know people who have, like, almost policing people, please put down your phones. Yeah. And there is diminishing respect for the artist's creativity and intellectual property, because the next day you will be tagged. After the announcement has been made, please don't enjoy the performance, I'll get about 20 tags of different aspects of the performance, which of course have been done without permission. In the early days, it used to be that if you have an idea, don't tell anybody, don't share it until the idea is ready to be performed. Now it's flipped. In talking to an IP lawyer, especially in the arts, they say the minute you have an idea, put it out on your social media platform. Oh. Let people know immediately that it's your idea. Yeah. And as the idea is developing, keep sharing. You select what aspects of it you want to share, but put it out as your idea.
Like a work in progress.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's your idea, it's your concept, and the process of development is yours. Today, young dancers who leave either because of marriage or studies, or they leave their guru, there are more independent dancers around the world. I'm talking of, when I just talk of dance, and there's so much of free information. YouTube is filled with dance videos, with good quality music, and a lot of choreography available. So I know of many gurus themselves who learn from those YouTube videos. And then they teach those pieces to their dancers. They download the music without permission. So I'm talking of a general disdain, I mean, a really disrespect. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is what saddens me.
But also it's because it's just freely available, right?
There's so much information available. Yeah. So many ideas about, and people are talking, so many ideas about costume and choreography and music and composition. So it's really easy to literally, as I say, steal. Yeah. It's not even borrow, because you're not giving it back, and you're not even acknowledging it. You're passing it off as yours.
Right. Anita, at this point, I just want to ask you a question about discernment. You know, in the context of the arts, really discernment is a very important quality, both from the perspective of the artist and more so from the perspective of the audience. So by virtue of, you know, so much content available and so many dancers who may be really good at making reels, but may not necessarily be really good dancers on stage, how is it sort of shifting this whole idea of discernment from the perspective of an audience member?
See, we have become a society where we plan where we are going to eat. We plan our travel. We plan who we're going to meet up with. But we don't wake up in the morning and say, you know what, today I feel like watching a dance program. You know, today I just feel like watching a music program. We don't want to go to watch the live arts because we have a free evening. We don't do that. We prefer to stay home and binge watch. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. So I feel that we are now people who go because somebody's invited us. Either we know the artist, or it's the daughter or whatever, wife of somebody we know. So in many times, we go to a live arts performance almost like some kind of a duty.
Show face.
To show face. Yeah. Unlike many other cultures who just go because they either love dance, or they love music, or they love opera, or they love... So we don't have that love. I'm talking of generally. There is a great love for sports. There's a great love for fashion and food, and we follow politics avidly, but not for the live arts.
And yet, we're gearing up for the Margari Festival, Anita, which is one of the largest festivals of music and dance in the country.
It is the single oldest, largest, privately funded performing arts festival in the world. Yeah. Without even a single, nothing from state money. Right. It came with a group of people who said, we need to make it happen. It started with music, and dance was added. Right. And yes, we will have 2,000, 3,000, whatever performances, it's mind-boggling. But you're talking of discernment, and I completely agree. And it starts with the parents and the teachers. Right. It starts with this haste, because parents have this, they want to sort of make dance and music sort of an India 101 culture course. Sometime you get into dance and you do it until you're 18, because after you'll fly off and go to college, I don't know what will happen. Yeah. Then, but at the same time, the attention and seriousness that the parent encourages the student to have towards the live arts is very different if the same student is also playing sports or also being trained in sports. They are so much more, strict, the sports coach. And you have to come on time. You cannot take any break. You have to train. That seriousness is not there in the arts, in dance and music. You want to take off, you take off. Today, teachers can't even reprimand a student for making the same mistake, for not doing homework, because then either the student gets upset, the parents get upset. Very different from my times, where if I would say my knees are really hurting, my mother would say, go back to class and just work it out. No rest. So we're living, it's a very politically correct, very, I would say, porcupine kind of generation we're dealing with. But discernment is because there is a glut of too many performers as students.
Right.
We are filled, the classrooms are filled with dancers and musicians, everybody wanting to perform before they stop performance. So up to the point of your 18, 20, 21, 22, there are so many young aspirants. So there is this push by the parents who are even willing to pay for that slot. I know that from the United States, you actually can put it as a project for your high school or your college to say you came to Chennai or to India to perform during the festival season. And you get college credit for it. Now, if your name appears on the programming sheet, it doesn't matter who came, how good your show was, and who is the organizer. The very fact that you're programmed in what is called this historic festival is enough to give you university credit.
No, for sure,
So there is that, and so in that atmosphere where the market supply, where the supply is so much greater than the actual demand, I would say discernment takes a hit. And those artists who are really good, who either don't have either the push or now I can say social media savvy and how to work the algorithms, they suffer. They fall by the wayside. And those are the artists that actually need to be nurtured by the presenters who feel that, this is somebody really good and we need to program him or her every season until they gain their own audience, beyond social media. So I think there is a great deal of, I'm disappointed in the general level of mediocrity, more or less, that we see. We see very rare flashes of excellence. Excellence takes time. Excellence means you need to not just have great technique, but you also need to have that extra USP, that X factor, that, makes people want to watch you beyond great technique.
No, I was going to ask you, Anita, about, you're also a curator. But also now you're actually contending with some beautiful pictures of you here. You're also contending with the algorithm, which is also an invisible curator of sorts. And ever since I started Alap, for example, on my Instagram page, I only have dancers content. But I want to see other content because I'm also interested in other things. So how do real-time curators also resist and negotiate this invisible curator called the algorithm?
I completely agree. I get all kinds of stuff. I get some dance, but not dance. But it's also about, because I'm generally curious about contemporary dance, Western dance, and other kinds of the live arts. So I get a variety of feed. You work much closely with dancers, and you work predominantly with South Indian dancers all over the world, South Indian artists all over the world. I have stopped worrying and spending sleepless nights about this algo. to put it short. I think one has to be there. One has to try to understand what's going on. The Nartaki page has a team handling it. But also, how vulnerable it is. Like overnight, it can be hacked. Overnight, your page can disappear. So you have to do a backup of a backup of a backup, I suppose, at some point. So the digital world is powerful, it exists, there's opinions. I find sometimes the X platform more stimulating, although the voices are very shrill and very divided compared to the voices I hear or the tone and tenor I hear in the dance and music. Because everybody's playing safe, everybody is trying to be very polite, everybody's trying not to ruffle any feathers. And today's what do you say, critics. Like you have a dance performance, you put it out on social media, your own peers are commenting about it, and that's the end of it. So when we have diminishing space, like the Telegraph, the Hindu still has space, I feel writing about a performance actually completes the circle for the performer themselves. Today, let me tell you, Instagram and social media reviews are not considered serious by visa embassies and consulates. They don't take it seriously at all. You need to have a printed review from a reputable, established organization. It can be a reputable online presence. I mean, there are lots of now online publications, but they will not accept Instagram and Facebook reviews. So there is a great need. You talk of discernment. We need to cultivate people who can look at the arts and respond. It can be in any language. We are talking in English, but it can be in Hindi, it can be in Telugu, it can be in Tamil. What does that performance mean? I feel music is doing much better than dance in that sense, because music, Indian music, even if you're trained classically, you have the ability to cross over and be part of what we call global music. Right. You know, you can put a mridangist and you can put a violinist, and he'll be able to have a conversation with a trumpeter or a saxophonist or somebody who plays the flamenco or, Spanish rhythms. It's not so with dance. It's fixated on the human body, and the human body has absorbed a certain kind of modality of movement, and you cannot unlearn movement because the muscles store memory. So it's very difficult in dance to suddenly go off and, collaborate with X, Y, and Z. That's why we have the arts managers now. That's why we have curators. And we have a new genre called dance designers, who are actually taking dance and saying, no, let's take this much and let's put it along with this and this. So new areas of like the third eye or the lens at which we're looking at live arts is emerging. Right. And I find that very hopeful. Right. I just hope that not everybody wants to be on stage. Right. I'd love for more people to learn lighting, arts management, writing, sound design, because everybody else around the live performer is making money, except the dancer.
Yeah, Anita, I think it would be very unfair if I didn't ask you a question. The one word that you didn't use while referring to the digital world is the word brutal. Yes. Because the digital world can really open up the possibility for conversation, but also it can be extremely brutal, especially through trolling, body shaming, caste, privilege, gender bias. So I really want to ask you what kinds of safe spaces can, people who work in the space of the arts, like you and me, really create?
Well, I've been trolled. And, a lot of very strong language has been used. And my official Nartaki Wikipedia page was deleted on purpose by section of the left media. But I step back and I think about it and I say, it's okay. The brand has been there for 33 years. And I've been in this performance space for 60 years. And today's young people, I don't know if they have that kind of bandwidth. We used to think of a generation of 20 years, now it's 10 years or maybe 5 years. Right. So everything is much shorter. Right. The brutality of the digital world is real, but it's only as brutal as you decide how you're going to receive that kind of hate or resistance or pushback. Right. I think my generation is far more circumspect, much more resilient, because the pushback is coming from the 30-somethings, right? And I feel that they will also grow old, and they will have pushback of their own, and words cannot take you down. I always feel that a critic has seen that one performance at one time and made his or her observations about that one performance. But you cannot dismantle a really passionate and serious artist's journey if that person is not hell-bent on just pursuing, honing, and perfecting their art. Time's up. Yeah.
I know. Thank you. Thank you very much, Anita. We can continue this conversation in the car and on the phone thereafter. Yes. Thank you very much for this session.